Go to TAPgiles.com to learn dreams, engage my services, and support the channel. So we want this to start following the player and all that kind of stuff while they're holding R2 on it, for example. Let's get that working just for the primary controller. So if we go in here, let's add some logic in a chip. And I'll have like an output node wiring into the tracker, into the follow imp. So when we send a signal into here, then it'll start following the player. First we want to know if the player is hovering the imp over this object in the first place. So if we get the grab sensor, that has a hovered output, and we can say if we're hovering over it, then we want to listen for if the player starts pulling R2, and then we'll start following it. Yeah, so we'll have like a separate chip over here to check that. Have a controller sensor with R2, and this R2 is like a percentage like that as it kind of displays on the tweak menu there. So if we check to see if that is more than some amount, that's like the threshold we want for when we're grabbing. So if it's greater than that amount, the moment it becomes greater than that amount, we'll tell everything that this player is trying to grab the object. So let's wire that into a signal manipulator, and in the custom remapper mode there is pulse at on. So when I pull it far enough to go beyond this percentage, then this will send a pulse, and that pulse will be used to like change this thing's mode to following the imp. So let's use some wireless stuff. So wireless receiver, scene wide. You need to set this to remote controllable as well. And this is start grab for the primary. Cool. And then in here we will check that by calling it the same name, start grab primary. And we've got to fix our spelling. Okay. So if we're hovering over it and we get this signal, so let's use an AND gate. Hovering over it, and we start grab primary, then we'll go into a different mode. So let's go get a selector. Selector has these different modes in here, and you can wire into one of them to set it to that mode. So we'll wire this into B to go into the like following mode, and we'll wire that into this output, which will actually get it to follow. So when I play time and I pull R2, then you can see it kind of pulsing through there. And if I open the AND gate, you can see it kind of flash when I pull R2 enough. So we actually need to tell this grab sensor what we're sensing from, and it will be the stick. So scope in here, sense grab, and just plug it into the stick. There you go. And now I'll use test mode. And now I can hover over it and then pull R2, and now it's gone into that mode. And it should start following the imp. So let's try it. Oh, we need to put it back on primary. So hovering over it, and then I press R2, and now it's following the imp. Now I can move around and wave the flag. That's all fine. But when I let go of R2, it's not dropping anymore. We need it to fall off again. So when we get another signal saying end grab, that'll go back to the A mode and stop sending a signal from B mode, so it will stop following. And now we actually have to send that signal as well. Let's copy those. And in this signal manipulator, use pulse at off. So it will send a pulse when we go below that threshold, and this is no longer true for the calculator. And then that will send it to end grab primary. And the imp is always too close, so I'm going to change that. So I'm going to move it around and then let go, and it falls down. And we can grab it again and let go. There you go. Now we want it to be able to follow the secondary controller as well. So let's first have a keyframe which sets this to secondary. And we'll have another mode, we'll have C mode, which will be activating that keyframe. And we also want it to still follow, so we'll wire that into the follow output as well. So over here, so R2 is, if we actually open that, and I'll use the moves. This is on remote control mode, so if I pull the primary imps trigger, that's R2, and then the secondary imps trigger, that's L2. And you can click on down here. Down here is motion controllers. You turn that on, and then it tells you exactly how these map. So primary trigger and secondary trigger. Cool. So we'll just set this up for that secondary trigger. Yeah. So we'll need one of these again, and this will be start grab secondary and end grab secondary. Yeah, and then that will talk to them. So you got those, but remember the grab sensor doesn't actually sense for the secondary imp at all, so we can't use that as the trigger to know that we're targeting that thing. So if we change this a bit, I'll kind of test on a separate object over here. So I'll just have a sculpt and a chip, and what we're going to do is have something following the secondary imp, and in here there is a trigger zone, like right there, just in front of it maybe, and scale down so you actually have to be quite close to it, that kind of thing. And that is going to look for this object. So we put it onto label mode, and let's give this a label of object and make this look for only objects. And now only that is pulsing green because we have this open to kind of indicate that's what it's looking for. Yeah, if we tweak that and then go to the labels tab, then it has this detected output. Oh, let's make this follow the primary just for testing. Go back to test mode, and that's following the imp. And when I get close enough to it, then you can see that lighting up. So we can use that as a signal to say that's when we want this to be grabbed. So we're going to do the same over there. So let's make it, where is it, down there? Let's make this have, let's get to the sculpt and make the sculpt have the right label. So let's have a little input node over here so that we can wire that in there. So this is, it's near to the imp, and we'll use that signal instead of the grab sensor. I guess we just see if that still works. Yay, and then let go. Yay. So that works pretty well. And we can make this just follow the secondary one, like that. I'll actually keep the normal grab sensor, and we'll say that's the signal for the primary one, and then this is the signal for the secondary one. So let's just kind of duplicate that. And this is start grab. That'll put it into C mode. Yeah, so this is end grab primary. We only want that to work if we're grabbing it with primary. If we're grabbing it with secondary, then we don't want it to be affected by the primary grab trigger at all. And then same for this. If we're in grabbing it with secondary, then we care about when we end the grab with secondary, and both of those will reset over here. So both of those should work now. The difference will be the grab can work from afar, like further away or whatever, and the trigger zone can only work if you're that close, or like however big you make it. So now when we're hovering over it and we pull R2, it starts following that controller, and we can let go and then hover over it with the other controller and then L2 and it starts following that one. So now we can get an object that follows either of them, and they actually kind of override each other. If I'm holding it with the right move, and then I can hover over the left move and then grab it. Now I've grabbed it with the other move, so it'll kind of follow whichever one grabbed it later. So you can now you can juggle with it if you're good at juggling. And that's with both the moves, which the other methods didn't work for. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something interesting. Go to patreon.com/TAPgiles to learn something new every day.